is discontinued. So it would have been before I worked for Dylan Bass. I think it was about 7 years ago we discontinued this.
Okay.
Originally, this whiskey was a travel retail exclusive.
Okay.
So it was only available in airports. But due to the popular demand and success, it became available in just general release, general purchase.
And so this is a blend as well?
It is a blend, yeah. Okay. So what makes this different is this actually uses virgin American oak casks.
Okay.
So not something commonly used in we do use virgin American oak in some of our whiskies. We've used it, Jameson RVR, and we've used it in some of the Middleton releases, but not particularly common. So this was discontinued, and funnily enough, we have a new warehouse, and in the process of moving from one warehouse to the others, one of the guys phoned me and said, "I've just found 3 bottles of Jameson Gold. Would you like to take it?" I said, "Yes, absolutely." So, so I was able to include it in this tasting. So just a nice way to kind of look back and revisit a whiskey that, sadly is no longer produced. I know a lot of people were very fond of it. So,
was there a reason behind discontinuing it? Was it just because you had so many brands and it's time to make room for new ones?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a concrete answer, unfortunately, but really when it comes down to these things, it's generally liquid constraints. This is me speculating, but I would imagine they wanted to move the brand in a slightly different direction. They wanted, for example, like the likes of these Cresteds, the likes of Castmates, that takes some older liquid to make. So unfortunately, we just can't keep everything in the family.
Okay. So I'm guessing that it's older liquid in here than on average. Would it be?
I'm not going to lie. I'm not entirely sure of the age of this whiskey. It's not one this is one that I've had quite a few times. I've had it on occasion, but because every time I've tried it, it's been after it was discontinued. So it's kind of like somebody else would share it with me. So I've never done any formal discussion with the guys or the team about this whiskey. I could only guess. I would imagine it's probably maybe around the 9-year mark, but that's purely a guess. Just from what it was originally priced at.
So it's a blend of pot still and grain whiskey.
Yeah, pot still and grain as well, but incorporate some of the virgin American oak casks.
So maybe more vanilla and sort of spice elements coming through.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely getting a lot of vanilla on the nose and a lot of sweetness.
Much thicker mouthfeel than I was anticipating, actually.
Yeah, yeah. I think
chewy.
Yeah, more pot still again than I think. The more pot still than I remember. Definitely has a creamier mouthfeel. I haven't had this in a while now, but yeah, quite chewy, quite fatty.
Slight oiliness to it as well, hasn't it?
And for something that has the American casks, I'm actually getting quite a lot of the sherry influence coming through. For me,
on the nose more than on the palate for me with the sherry influence.
See, for me, it's the other way around. Yeah,
it's the wonder of whiskey.
I know. It's in the nose. I get a lot of vanilla, a lot of butterscotch, a lot of that fudge. But on the palate, I get the spice. But then again, that's my palate.
Yeah, it's just what we were saying earlier. There's no right or wrong. What you get, notes, flavour notes, aroma notes. It's what you get. And
now, as a few seconds later, when the sherry flavour kind of wears off, I do get more of that creaminess, more of that sweetness, more of that kind of fudginess. It's a whiskey a word that gets thrown a lot around in whiskey, and not everybody agrees with it. It's smooth,
you're in one camp or the other.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of people describe this whiskey as smooth, and I understand what they mean. In terms of it's just a very nice sipper. There's not a huge amount of intensity. It's quite delicate.
Yeah, and it's not really got any sort of harsh edges to it, so it just goes down very easily. But then that spice element does kick in after a while. That's cracking, absolutely spot on.
Yeah, I think there always should. Jameson, in terms in comparison to Powers or Redbreast, will be a lighter style. A lighter style being a blended whiskey, but there should always be a bit of that pot still. That's our kind of signature. There should be a bit of that pot still DNA coming across in our whiskies, definitely.
Yeah. So you always want that bit to shine, and it certainly does here. Beautiful.
Yeah, and it's nice to revisit, one that's it's kind of melancholy to taste a whiskey like this because, well, it's bittersweet. It's beautiful to taste a lovely whiskey, and it's sad that it's no longer with us. But there's still some of it. It's
still around.
It's still around. Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen bottles of this sell for anywhere between kind of £80 to £100, which is a lot more than you used to get it for. But there's still some there.
So would that be on the secondary market, like the whiskey
Yeah.
auctions? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're like me, you get lucky and find it in a warehouse.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But sometimes it's quite nice, you know, you walk into a little shop in sort of the middle of nowhere and there's like a dusty old bottle that's been on the shelf for a while.
Yeah.
You get those little...
And if you're very lucky, you'll find that it's priced wrong. Haven't put the price up yet.
Yeah, they're quite happy for you to take it.
Yeah, I'll get rid of it. It's been sitting there for ages. I think, you know, it's funny, I was talking about this quite recently with somebody. I think those days for Irish whiskey are gone. I think a lot of people now are very savvy and know what they're looking for.
Yeah.
So there's a customer of ours has a shop up in Derrylin, and she was saying to me, like, she knows within a couple of minutes of somebody walking in, she's like, this person is looking, you know, at the bottles, looking at the prices, trying to find things that are priced wrong. But I guess that's just, you know, a testament to how popular Irish whiskey is now, that people know what they're looking for.
Absolutely, I think it's the same with Scotch whisky as well. What I do is I tend to look at the sort of small local auctions.
Yeah.
Now, before COVID, that was great because you could rock up to these auctions in person, have a little sort of nosy at all the lots, and then you could pick up some really old bottles of, I don't know, Grants from the 70s, you know, a 10 bottle. Yeah.
So what do you mean?
But nowadays, because of COVID, everybody has put their auctions online, so there's like the sale room, and when you find the bargains, it's because they don't really know what they've got.
Yeah.
So they'll just put something like a quantity of spirits. They haven't got the keywords that the bots are looking for, so sometimes you can...
You just have to know how to look.
Yeah, it's quite time-consuming going through each of the lots and looking at the photos, but there's the occasional bargain.
I think the growth of these Facebook groups as well, people will naturally post, you know, oh, I just got this for this price, and, you know, there's just a lot more information being shared. So, you know, it's great in the sense that more people are introduced to these whiskies, but bad for people like us who are trying to find bargains.
Yeah, if we're trying to find the bottles to open and drink, you know, sometimes that's a bit tricky because there's a lot of people who are maybe buying the bottles as a sort of commodity.
As an investment or
make a profit on. But yeah, as long as we do things like this, which is why these are fantastic, because I probably won't get hold of most of these bottles and be able to try, you know, back in Scotland. So, you know, the opportunity to try sort of 6 different whiskies that otherwise I wouldn't have had a chance to.